This is the 2024 Ineos Grenadier Trialmaster. It's a quirky British homage to the classic Land Rover Defender. But can it conquer our mountain test course? We're going to find out right now on Driving Sports TV. Earlier this year, we did have the opportunity to drive an Ineos Grenadier here at our mountain test course. But unfortunately, the only vehicle available for testing at the time was the street-oriented Fieldmaster. That one lacked a lot of essentials that you kind of need here, such as locking differentials and meaty all-terrain tires. The Fieldmaster was a really nice vehicle and quite capable, but it wasn't quite up to the challenge of getting all the way to the top of our mountain test course. Well, today we're finally going to do it right with a fully optioned out 2024 Grenadier Trialmaster. Like all Grenadiers, under the hood is a BMW turbocharged 3-liter straight six. It's a version of the same engine found in the modern Toyota Supra. Here it has been detuned to improve reliability, producing a peak 282 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. The standard transmission is a ZF 8-speed automatic. And yes, that is the standard BMW gear selector in the middle. Power goes to all four wheels through a full-time four-wheel drive setup. EPA rates this trim at 14 miles to the gallon both for city and for highway. Because this is a Trialmaster, it comes standard with a long list of standard off-road hardware, including both front and rear lockers, underbody protection, roof access ladder, a raised air intake, but don't call it a snorkel. This is for getting the breathing of the engine above the dust line, not above the water. It also has extra electrical wiring, interior utility rails, a compass with altimeter, and 17-inch steel wheels wrapped in 31-inch BFG KO2 tires, sporting retro white lettering. Overall, this thing really looks the business, especially in this Eldoret blue paint, which, yes, is an extra option. Pricing of the Trialmaster starts at $83,100 US, not including destination. Our tester did come with several extra cost options, including a 5.5-ton integrated winch, which by itself was a $4,085 option. Because we already have a full review of the Fieldmaster Ineos Grenadier, this one is very similar in terms of functions. So what we're really going to focus on today is the off-road capabilities here at our mountain test course. And we're going to start with an easy trail and then work our way up to the Anaconda. Going over the interior here, you will note there is no gauge pod in front of me. That's just warning lights. Over here is where all of the important information is. And I can actually switch this to, let's go to off-road, which I can use the controls down here or the touchscreen up there. I'm going to go to off-road mode, and what that's going to do is it's just going to show me my angles. I want to kind of call out some angles so you can kind of understand how steep some of the sections of our courses are. Now we do have a center differential here, and we can either run high or low, and we can lock it or not. You can actually run in low with no lock, which is pretty unusual. The only other car off the top of my head that I've driven recently that does it is my Land Cruiser First Edition. Okay, so I'm in drive. Let's do this. So it is interesting that this only has about 31-inch tires. And I'm okay with that, actually. I like the extra challenge of a smaller tire, but it's a KO2, so it's going to have plenty of traction for me. Oop, I forgot, this doesn't have quite the turning radius that I would like. Also, there's no on-center with this thing. It uses a reciprocating ball in the front, so it just doesn't want to recenter very much. I have to do all the inputs. Now, this is going to be the first test of clearances. We got a little ditch here. We're going to see if we rub anything. A little drainage ditch. Pretty common if you go up into the mountains. Okay, there we go. Oh, we have sensors. Sensors are making noises. So this is the first thing that I love about this vehicle. There's an off-road mode. It's up here. Hit it once and then hold it down again. Is that right? You're entering off-road mode. So this deactivates the seatbelt sensor, which is cool. It also turns off all the exterior sensors, so you're not getting a lot of beeps and warnings as you're driving over terrain, which is pretty cool. At this point, it's warning me that it's off-road up there. I'm going to switch this into 4 low because we're going to need that for a lot of stuff coming up. So I just pull on this, pull it down into low. I'm not going to lock that center diff yet because I don't have to. We'll do it when necessary. Okay, back into drive. Right, let's do this. Even though this is designed to kind of be a modern interpretation of a classic Land Rover Defender, it does have some really modern stuff, like downhill assist. Hit that button, light goes on, take my foot off the brake, and it'll ease me down. Got a little HDC thing there flashing, and it basically locks me at 3 miles per hour, managing the braking to keep me going in a straight line. It's a nice setup. This type of feature is more important on like really slippery surfaces. Here, not a big deal, but I can at least demonstrate the feature. So the history of the Grenadier is fascinating. The chairman of Ineos Petrochemical Company decided he wanted to keep manufacturing the Land Rover Defender when the new one came out. He thought it was too soft. So he actually offered to buy all the tooling for the original Defender. And Land Rover said, nah. Instead, he built his own modern Defender. And yeah, Land Rover did sue, apparently, and lost. And that is the very, very short version on how Grenadier was born. So this is the first real challenging section. I'm going to first attempt it without any lockers, so you can kind of see what this vehicle does with open diffs. Now what this is going to do is take traction off of one wheel, and we're basically going to sit here. Yeah, so it does have any brake vectoring systems? Not really. So what we're going to do here is we're going to engage our lockers. So let's just do a rear locker here. I don't think I need to do a front locker in this condition. It's just not that difficult. Check lock conditions. How do I check the lock conditions? I'm in low. Oh, I got to lock the center. I bet you I have to lock the center first. Actually, it is very much like my Land Cruiser, if that's the case. Now the rear is locking. You know, I kind of think more information would be helpful. So now it's locked. We're in, we're moving forward and just adding a little throttle, and you can see how much easier it is, even with just a rear locker. Now a little later, we will get in conditions where we need a front locker, but this was pretty easy. Up and over. Ground clearances are very good on this vehicle, even with just 31-inch tires. There we go. Now let's climb out of the steep section of the Sidewinder, see how it does. Yeah. Just gonna add some throttle. I'm gonna just still keep a rear locker on here, no front locker. And we're gonna go up the hill. And this is very steep. We're at 19 degrees, 20 degrees, 23 degrees. Crank it and up and out. See? No problem. It has the right combination of approach, breakover, departure, plus of course that rear locker. Can get through pretty much anything. Add the front locker and you're unstoppable. Great. So for our next test, we're going to do Python Pass. This is a very steep, loose dirt, round boulders, and whatnot. It's also very twisty, so it's going to test the turning radius of the vehicle as we go up the trail. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that when I'm in off-road mode, not only does it deactivate all the safety stuff, it even deactivates the rear camera. That's right, no rear camera, which is kind of a funny omission. Now, for those of you saying, well, shouldn't this also have a front camera? I'm not going to disagree with you. However, I can also say that with such great visibility forward-facing in this vehicle, you kind of don't need one. I mean, the way that the hood is designed, you can see the arches exactly where the wheels are, and then of course it's a flat windshield, so you get better view out to the sides. So, and of course massive side windows too. I can look down, kind of use my eyes instead of cameras. So normally I'd say yeah, front cameras, but here I'm kind of okay with it. Anyway, as we were doing here, center locked, rear locked, do not have the front lockers on yet, and we're just going to see if this will climb right up. And I'm going to call out some of the pitch angles as we go. Let's do it. So growing up, my grandfather had a Range Rover Series 2. Actually, he had 3 of them. One was for parts. And this kind of gives me that same feeling. I mean, that was on very narrow tires, but it had, you know, a decent 4-wheel drive system. It was a little billy goat. And this car, yeah, kind of feels the same. Let's look at these turning angles as we go. Yeah, so far doing pretty good. Like, obviously larger trucks have a real problem with this trail. Oh, the turning radius. On this stock for a moment, the turning radius kind of sucks on this thing. It does. Like, it couldn't get around that corner. Right. So if you're going to give me that bad of a turning radius, at least give me some kind of brake assist turn control system. That would be nice. You know, it brakes the inside rear wheel so you can kind of skid around a corner. Yeah, this doesn't have that. Of course, that would go against the ideology of like a classic Defender, because, I mean, you wouldn't even think of such a feature on a classic Defender. Oh man, this turning radius. Like, I turn where I think it'll be okay. I think we're going to clear that. Use that visibility. Wow. Yeah, it's just a branch. It'll be fine. The turning radius is truly awful on this vehicle. Plus, of course, there's no on-center feel. Now, Grenadier says that that is because you don't want snapback while steering, but I gotta tell you, on my Land Cruiser, on a modern Defender, snapback just isn't really that much of an issue. Yeah, I still keep my thumbs on the outside of the wheel just from habit, but you're really... I've never had snapback in a modern vehicle, and that is one of the biggest arguments for using like a reciprocating ball design like is on this vehicle. It's just kind of a funny thing. But like I said, this is quirky and British, so I think it probably makes sense to the British. Okay, well that was super easy. Now let's try this out on the ladder, which is our very steep climb. And then if we get past that, which I expect we will because this vehicle has had no problems with anything so far, then we will actually do the challenging course, which is our Anaconda trail. I think it'll be fine. Although with the Anaconda, I've never taken anything under 33s on it, so it's gonna be interesting. Anyway, let's line up for the ladder and get this done. So the ladder here is very steep. It has gotten a little easier over the years that we've been doing this as it gets more packed down and some of the looser boulders get knocked out of the way. We did add a little bit of a ditch on the right inside upper section, so that will challenge the 4-wheel drive system just a little bit, but not a lot. Not on this one, I don't think. Of course, with KO2s, KO2s are a legendary all-terrain tire, and for good reason. They're really good, especially in conditions like this. So I'm just going to walk up. Now at this point, on the passenger side, we have a ditch. So I haven't locked the front yet, so that might spin a little. Depends on articulation. Yeah, a little spinning, but that's expected. We're still moving forward though, because that rear is locked. So that means both wheels are moving at the same rate. And up we go. Just no problem at all. It's really funny, the difference between the vehicles that have challenge with that and those that don't. It's just like, you know, when you actually run into something that is undoable by a certain vehicle, it becomes impossible very quickly. Vehicles like this, they just make it look easy. So I would compare oh, yeah, it's loose right here. Let's reset and do that again. Now I could just charge up, but I don't want to. I want the vehicle to do the work. So let's go ahead and lock that front diff. My rear is already locked, so this should be a quick, easy process. Hold it down, I guess. It's flashing at me. We'll roll forward a little bit. It's engaged. Okay, now we're just gonna see if we can just walk up this section. 22, 24 degrees, 25 degrees, 29 degrees. It's steep. It's always hard to tell just how steep it is on camera, but trust me, this is steep. Yeah, there we go. Turning radius, can we make it? Man, turning radius strikes again. Of course, having all these lockers on doesn't help, but I do expect a little bit more, to be honest. Okay, now let's head to the Anaconda. We're gonna take a moment out of our off-roading adventure here to go over some of the quirks on this Ineos Grenadier Trialmaster. Now, one thing I want to point out, it's not a Trailmaster, it is a Trialmaster. And the reason is because it's actually named after a Belstaff jacket. It's kind of a cool looking coat. Anyway, this vehicle has lots of cool features and some quirky ones too. The first thing I want to point out, the fact that yes, it uses a physical key fob. No sensors here, and that does make this a more simple vehicle, which is kind of nice. Also security, nobody can steal your codes when it's a key. Now, there is an optional winch you can get for this vehicle. It doesn't have the longest of lines, but you can get an extension, obviously. I love the fact that it's tucked in here so nicely. And of course, if you need a license plate on the front, you can get a license plate cover that will flop down in front of that if you like. You can option on this vehicle steel plates that go here. Now, the funny thing is that the modern Defender, you can get the plates that go here, but they're made out of plastic and they're not actually load bearing. With this vehicle, you can get load bearing plates, which is pretty cool. The Trialmaster does come standard with this air intake. As I said at the beginning, this is not a snorkel. A snorkel is for going underwater. This is for raising the air intake above the dust line. If you're running in a caravan with multiple vehicles, you get a lot of dust in the air. This brings it up to a much more suitable area. Now, what are these things, you're probably wondering? These are a kind of a universal mounting system. I like them on the back. I don't quite understand the doors though, to be honest. You don't want to put, like, you're not going to mount a jerry can here because this thing's opening and closing. It's going to make the door feel kind of awkward. And let's listen to that. That's right. It sounds like a G-Wagon. This thing is so solid. I love that aspect of this vehicle. And then also, we'll come back here. This is going to be easier to take a look over here. I want to talk about the tires. Now, this does come with KO2s from BFG, which are a legendary off-road tire. This is an all-terrain. If you don't know what you're getting into, these are a good tire to run. However, you'll note they're not 33s, they're not 35s, because that actually plays against the whole idea of these vehicles. If you're in Africa and you have used your spare and you need to find another spare, you're not going to find a 35 in the middle of nowhere. No, these are 31s, roughly. They're a little bit less than 31s, which is a much more common size to find all around the world. And frankly, if you look at the history of off-roading, 35s, 33s, that's a more recent phenomena. And also it's more for people who like do the Moab and the Jeep thing. You know, real like people who do like are on African safaris or doing like, you know, saving people in the middle of tsunamis like in Asia, they're not running 35s. Oh, I know who's running 35s. People in Iceland. And it's awesome up there. Anyway, what else we got here? We have a ladder. Now, I love that this ladder actually comes on the vehicle, and yes, it is load bearing, as is the roof. But there is something that's, I think, could be improved here. These are super slippery. Like, there's no even attempts at giving that a grippy thing. The one nice thing I do, like from a camera perspective, since I'm a video producer, is the fact you can clamp stuff to this, which is really nice. Just to show how well they've thought out this design, on most vehicles, specifically Jeep Wranglers, the front diff and the rear diff are actually in different locations. The rear diff is in the middle of the vehicle and the front diff is offset. On this one, they've actually put the two diffs in a line. Why do you want to do that? It's actually so if you're going over an obstacle, you actually can maneuver your clearance because you'll know you have a little more clearance on the right side of the vehicle than on the left side of the vehicle. And they're in line, so if you clear it with the front, you'll also clear it with the back. Can't do that with a Jeep. Okay, and the last little thing that I want to show that you just don't see on a lot of vehicles are what's up here. these are actually a standard electrical connector, and they are fused with breakers inside the vehicle itself. And that all comes pre-done on the Trialmaster. So if you want to like rig up maybe a rooftop tent with maybe some kind of like, I don't know, a heater blower or something, you can wire it into this. I think the more common use will probably be lighting on your roof, but it's just great that this is all wired in so you have no drilling necessary if you want to upgrade your vehicle. Okay, with all those features covered, let's get back in and head to the Anaconda. So I have the center lock still on, but for coming down the hill, I turned off the rear and the front lockers. So let's go ahead and get those up. Gonna roll a couple feet, there we go. Now this is very loose and it's very challenging for a great number of vehicles. If you have 35-inch wheels, it's usually not a problem, but these are 31s. So let's see how these do. Is it the compound, is it the tire, or is it the size? Or is it all the above? Let's see if we can just walk up first. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No problem. Nice. Okay, as we continue up and over, listen for clearance issues. None. Everything is nicely tucked in underneath. Okay, now we have a nemesis of this vehicle, a tight turn. I'm gonna keep on going and let's see what we can do for turn. Oh man, I think one of the problems too is that I'm so used to tighter turning radius vehicles, I'm turning later than usual. Let me back up here. Now this time I'm gonna turn way earlier. See if that fixes the situation. I mean, the turning radius is still pretty bad, but you just have to compensate, I guess. Okay, now we're set up for a series of ditches that pretty much challenges everything on our climb all the way to the top. This, by the way, is 160 feet from the bottom to the top. That is how steep this hill is. It's incredibly steep. Okay, so we still have front and rears locked, centers locked. This is really more a challenge of clearances as we go into side-by-side ditches, as well as a couple tabletop style ditches. So I'm gonna go down. A lot of vehicles will rub their tailgates here. Cleared it, nice. So at this point, I'm gonna be listening for underbody grinding. Oh, I don't think this has the optional, nope, does not have the optional sliders. So I'm definitely gonna keep an eye open for any grinding here. And if it grinds, we'll cheat to the side. So what do we got? Wow, no grinding. It cleared. Who needs 35s? Oh, little rub. Not too bad, that's just belly. Okay, and then here we go. So there's a rock on the right here. I don't have a front camera, so I can't align it using a camera, but this has such great visibility, I can just line it up this way and no problem. So wheel goes up and over. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're gonna try to go all the way. Nice. I mean, I could try climbing up this. There's a boulder up there, though. If we knock it, it'll roll all the way down onto my neighbor's house. Not really. What? Look at this. I mean, I kind of feel like, oh, it's so loose. Yeah, we're not going to do this today. Someday. Someday, Hill. It does help for turning around, though. Ah, come on, steering. Work with me here. Oh, jeez. I mean, you can anticipate all you want. It's just not great steering. So I wonder how stubborn is Grenadier. Are they going to stick to this steering, or are they going to go, you know what? This vehicle would be better if we gave it a better turning radius and more comfortable steering. Time will tell on that one. I'm guessing they'll be stubborn. Let's see. Okay, so the only vehicle I've gotten up here so far with 33s or anything smaller than a 35 is my Ranger Raptor, and it did slide a little bit, but I think we'll be okay here because we have a better breakover with this vehicle than of course we do on the Raptor, which is a truck and has a pretty long wheelbase. Again, I'm going to be reliant on my own ability to guess and see what's ahead of me. I'm at a 25-degree pitch right now as I try to find that rock. Put my wheel right on it. Yep, there's the rock. And boom, right on top of it. Now I'm still running, fully locked. So climb up. Come on, there we go. As we exit, one wheel on rock, one on loose dirt. Oof. Come on, yeah! Love it. Okay. Now for the finale. So on this one, this is where the Raptor scratched the most, on this next berm here. I'm gonna take a similar line, not just because of the berm, but also don't want to scratch those. Ooh, ooh, great breakover actually. There was like nothing. A little bit of rocks removed, but nothing significant. Okay, so now it's time to see if we can get up the hardest section. We're at a 20 degree. It'll get super steep though, right before the last bit. And I'm just gonna keep a slow, steady throttle and see if it climbs. How much of a billy goat we got here? Peaking out at 30-degree pitch. Come on, come on, come on, come on, don't crab off the cliff. Yeah! And of course I had to adjust my steering. Ah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so for a straightforward, challenging trail, the Ineos Grenadier, no problems. This thing is just a billy goat. Point in direction, it just goes. Combination of KO2s, front and rear lockers, just a really nice setup, great ground clearance. I mean, honestly, this thing, I do kind of love it in spite of the awful steering. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you. I hope you enjoy them. And I'll tell you, I really enjoyed driving this Ineos Grenadier. Now, we're not done yet though. We are going to be doing a three-way shootout between this, the new Land Rover Defender, and the Land Cruiser First Edition. So be sure to hit subscribe, and we'll see you again right here real soon.